probably the most active seed investor in the New England area in the past 4 years, alongside Google and a few others. And that's what we do. We try and be the best funding product for seed stage entrepreneurs that we can.
So as a seed stage investor, it's very different from later stage VC firms. I mean, what exactly are you looking for?
So I always joke that we actually don't know what success looks like. And we actually, we live in a world that's so chaotic that we really can't predict how companies are going to perform or what their plan should look like or what their revenue model should be. So as a VC, you kind of have to think, I actually don't know anything, and start from a position of complete ignorance about what the world is going to bring you. And then you look for entrepreneurs who are able to capture chance as it comes along and build great things. So we kind of have to rely almost 100% on team, which is a cliche, but at the seed stage, it's sort of an extreme version of not being able to plan anything. Hey guys, we're going to ask you to please be quiet. So we're going to go loud for a second. How you doing, Boston? All right, and now we're going to go quiet for 5 minutes, and hopefully, not for me, but when the pitches come and the entrepreneurs come, you got to be respectful of the minute and a half and just shut up when they're pitching. So with me, talk a little bit, and when the entrepreneurs come, just please be silent.
I love this guy because I'm normally the one who yells at everyone, and everyone hates me by the end of the night, so we're just going to have him do it for the rest of the night. That's
Amen.
awesome. Okay, well, my question is, because I was reading a book recently, Be Smarter Than Your VC and Your Lawyer, and it talks about how, all you know about projections in terms of business model is that they're going to be wrong. We don't know whether or not, it's going to pan out the way we think. So you say rely on the team. What are you looking for in a team? What does that mean? Does that mean someone you want to answer the phone for? Does that mean someone you like personally? What does that mean?
Yeah, actually, that's a very good proxy, which is usually, if I don't want to work for you, I'm probably going to have trouble funding you. And this is the reality of what happens when you come into my office. Within 3 minutes, I'll know whether I want to fund you. And within 10 minutes, I'll know whether I want to fund your business. Because it is effectively like falling in love, and you got to have that impulse. And then if you're any good at what you do, you try and rationalize yourself back to a stable state where you're not acting on impulse. But fundamentally, we back people, we back stories, and we back with our gut. And then we rationalize our way back to try and not do stupid stuff. So it is like falling in love. It's the best way I can describe it.
Interesting. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Boston. You've been here for a while, even though your accent says otherwise.
Belgium.
What are the big opportunities for a Boston startup? What advantages does a startup in Boston have that maybe they don't have in New York or Silicon Valley?
Sure. So that's actually a softball, which I appreciate. We have a very unique environment. So there's only 2 fully diversified startup ecosystems probably in the world. One is the Silicon Valley vortex, which is unbeatable, and the other one's Boston. So one of the unique things is you can go across e-commerce, machine learning, robotics, and you'll find strength in all these areas. And if you've read the biography of Steve Jobs, you know that it's when you mix expertise that great things happen. It's when you get outside of your zone of comfort and start mixing across areas that you do unique things. So that's one thing, which is you can get the best machine learning experts out of MIT. They're usually 24 and you've never heard of them. And they don't come to events like this, by the way. You can get a robotics expert. You can get a guy out of Wayfair who knows a lot about e-commerce and mix these things up. The second thing is, so I spend a lot of time in the Bay Area, and people are incredibly mercenary. Every 2 years they leave. They're incredibly expensive. They're all about what can you do for me. And Boston being more community and more careful about how it builds itself, you can have people for 3, 4, 5 years who are kind of dedicated to the cause and the mission. And so it helps you build companies, I think, in a really nice way with really good culture. And I love that too. So I think these are, for me, the 2 primary things. And you can attract people for not too much money. So if you're at the seed level, you can pay an engineer 90 or 100 grand instead of in the Bay Area where you get a 26-year-old out of Apple who wants 175K, a car, 50K bonus, 2% equity, and wants to know what you're going to do for him every 3 months, which is kind of painful.
So I'm kind of hanging on something you said, which is that these amazing engineers and scientists and geniuses that are coming out of MIT and Harvard, which are a stone's throw away, are not coming to events like this. So if I'm founder dating and I'm an idea person, where do I go to find that amazing engineer?
So to find talent, I think you have to work hard. For example, Daniel Nadler, who's a Harvard guy, sits on top of some of the best engineers to come out of Harvard engineering. And again, you won't find them until you go through him. The good news is the community is so small that you can get to these nodes relatively, quote unquote, easily. And if you have a quality project, you can just attract the right people. I find that at the seed stage, entrepreneurs, especially in Boston, are often shy to kind of reach and extend to people that they don't think they can get. And the reality is you can get Nicholas Negroponte on your board. He's on the board of one of our companies, and you can get to him. You can get to Joe Ito. You can get to amazing engineers. And I think as a seed stage entrepreneur, when your project's embryonic, you may not realize that you can reach for the stars and actually get some of these guys. This community will work for you if you just are not afraid to ask.
So one of the things that you and I had dinner last night, right? I mean, not
Thank
intimately.
you, by the way.
That was awesome. It was delicious. You guys should check it out. Where did we eat again?
Grill 23.
Grill 23. Go. It's good. So my question is, we talked a little bit about the fact that, Boston startups tend to focus on SaaS, enterprise, big data, things that aren't normally so sexy, right? And so you're talking to me last night about how there's kind of an image issue that publications don't want to pick up on Boston startups, that press isn't coming here because it's not necessarily as sexy as something like Tinder, right? So what can Boston do? What can these startups do that are actually solving big problems and creating a lot of value for shareholders do to get the attention of the rest of the world?
Well, taking a step back, the thing Boston sucks at the most is shouting on the rooftops about the quality of what it's doing. Sometimes you see half-baked companies out of the Bay Area with no engineering, and they're in every publication, they're shouting about how great they are, and their level of intent is such that they end up actually being great. And here in Boston, you have Endeca that gets sold for $1 billion, or $1.2 billion, whatever it was, and most people miss it, because this company has always thought, we're working hard in the basement, we're doing great things, but they're almost ashamed to show what they do until it's perfect. And so this cult of the engineer, the perfection that comes out of being so engineering focused, is something we need to shed and just basically declare our intent. And we have some role models, like Dharmesh Shah at HubSpot has made SaaS marketing sexy. I mean, do you think SaaS marketing is sexy? Well, I didn't think so either, but these guys managed to do it. So I
think money is sexy.
Yeah, but they were sexy before they had money. See, they were sexy because they were out to change the world of B2B SaaS marketing and how you enable SMBs, and that is not a sexy topic. They made it that way. And so I think there's a lot of mindset around just going out there and shouting your mission and just making people care that we do so badly, which is why you guys need to hire a local correspondent, and we're going to start to solve that.
Man, this is all he was saying to me last night.
On a
I might have
mission.
to move to Boston.
We are on a mission.
We'll see. So we talked about the greatest advantages to being in Boston as a startup. What are the biggest challenges? And what advice would you give? That's my final question. What advice would you give these entrepreneurs out here starting a company in Boston? How do they get your ear?
Well, so first of all, a lot of what was wrong with the Boston ecosystem is looking in the rearview mirror. It is 5 years ago. If you have a business model that has no revenues attached to it, so let me rephrase. If you have no business model and you're all about user hack, you can come talk to me and talk to Bijan and talk to a bunch of people who will say, by all means, let's figure out your business model in 3 years. So a lot of the issues we had are of the past. And I think that the moment the community realizes the power that it has, it will start to just leverage that properly. The things that suck here, I think, are, being a 23-year-old and dating, it may not be the best place in the world. And so we need licensing law changes. There's subtle things like that where the culture still needs to evolve. But I fundamentally think that the startup ecosystem here is thriving, it's community-oriented, and we should just stop complaining and start doing, because it's ready, and it's deep, and it's vibrant. So I actually don't think there's anything that wrong with it, except maybe for licensing, and that people should take advantage. We are running something, so on December 11th, there is this horrible thing called the New England Venture Summit, which is a pay-to-pitch, thingy. And so we're running Unpitch. So you go to unpitch.org. There are 25 VCs and angels and seed stage investors, and we're just taking companies in, and we're going to spend 3 hours with them, just sitting down with them. So we're multiplying these opportunities because the VC community is more open than you think. It is our job to fund you guys, to meet you guys. It's actually what we enjoy doing. So I think it's just a question of reaching out to the community and connecting, because we're here.
Unpitch.org, right? That's a big deal. You guys should write that down. Thank you so much, Fred. Can I get a round of applause for Fred? How awesome is he?
Thank you.
Atlas Ventures.